Welcome to Melco HQ, located just north of beautiful Denver, Colorado. When you choose a partner that's based in the United States,
Melco was founded in 1972, so it's been in the Denver area since then, almost 50 years.
We do everything. We do the software, we do the machine. It's helpful to have all of that in-house and have that collaboration.
We have a dedicated and very experienced group of people here.
My area of expertise is to head up the applications team. And the applications team basically goes through and identifies how the equipment can be used in production. Most important thing at a production shop is that you keep the needle going up and down. That's how you make money with an embroidery machine. And so a lot of times with our competitors' product, the machine has to set idle while you set up information based off of thread type or needle type, or you may even have to stop the machine at different points of the design to switch maybe from a polyester thread to a metallic thread. With our system in Design Shop, that's our digitizing software, you can set up all the machine's parameters, save it in the OFM, which is our proprietary file format, load that into the Melco ENT16X, and the machine will operate as you programmed it over off the Design Shop. So there's no need for you to stop or pause the machine to make a change. It's all programmed into the design.
It's so easy to come to work every day knowing that you do have the best product on the market.
Hey guys, David Lewis here with AW Specialty Papers. We're really excited about the interview that we have going today in the embroidery field. There's been a lot of discussion on the group. I know a lot of people are looking forward to asking questions and getting questions. Without further ado, let me slide over a little bit and bring in our guest. In the middle there, we have Mike Doe with Melco, and all the way over on the end, we have John LeDrew with Melco International. Guys, thanks for joining us today. Really do appreciate it.
Thanks for having us on, David.
Glad to be here.
Good. You know, I like to start just sort of get a sense of, you know, where people are in their lives and things like that. You know, here we are locked in our houses or basements or wherever it is that we are. Strange times and everything. John, you know, I understand that that you're a volunteer fireman. I was just kind of curious what things in your life have led you down that path.
Yeah, now I feel a little goofy for wearing this hat. I didn't know you were going to bring that up. I am, and yeah, I think it all really started with just like a passion for the fire service and to be able to give back to the community. And you know, in our business, as you know, David, we have so much free time to do whatever we want. I figured what better way to use it. But no, I like to stay busy and I like to give back, and it's been a real rewarding and a lot of fun, and it helps fuel my adrenaline junkiness as well.
I can imagine. Well, we appreciate your service in that regard. Speaking of appreciation of service, Mike, I understand that you're an ex-sailor.
I personally am not an ex-sailor. My father was.
Oh, and, okay.
So that's unfortunately I couldn't follow in his footsteps. I tried, but no, he was the military person, and that's where I learned how to sew, was from my dad.
Ah, gotcha. All right. So my mistake, because I thought that that I'd read that you were in the Navy.
No, sir. Nope. It was my father.
So tell me, I mean, so he taught you how to sew. How did that happen, and where did that begin?
Yeah, so at a very young age, you know, he was doing upholstery work for boats. As odd as it sounds, we do have boats here in Colorado. Not a whole bunch of them. Actually, there's too many and not enough lakes. I think that's the problem. But yeah, so he introduced me on teaching me how to sew on an industrial sewing machine, doing upholstery work first for boats, and then we started doing quite a bit of car work, reupholstering cars.
And from there, at about 16, 17 years old, I was looking for a part-time job and went to work for a multi-head company and got my first experience on a multi-needle, multi-head embroidery machine.
Oh, awesome. So, John, tell us a little bit about where you guys are located and where you live, work, and play.
Yeah, that's a great question. Denver is the home for Melco, and it's been there since 1972. So they've done, I mean, the history of Melco goes way back in Denver. And all of our engineers are in Denver. Our support team is in Denver. A lot of our administration team, our warehouse crew. So a lot of the hub is Denver. However, with modern technology, we have people all over the country. We have our installers and our trainers are scattered all over the country. A lot of our salespeople are all over the place. We have international business. I mean, Melco really is a global company and really national. We're just all over. So we take advantage of the technology to be able to do that. It's been very helpful.
Oh, cool. Yeah. You know, I was mentioning earlier that I've got a whole bunch of questions from people that are in the group. And it was really interesting. One of the guys who had some of the most interesting questions to ask is based in the UK. And he's buying Melco machines there. So I guess you guys are spread all over the place.
Yeah, Mike can maybe address a little bit of the Bernina connection that is in Switzerland and our European contacts over there.
Yeah, so Melco is actually a part of a company or a group of companies called the Mizar Group, and Bernina is actually the owner of that group. So Bernina, if you haven't ever heard of Bernina, they're kind of like the Rolls Royce of home sewing machines. Very high end. I mean, high end. Like you could probably buy a car cheaper than some of these sewing machines. So very nice stuff, and it's kind of cool. We've been owned by several different companies in the past. This one I love the most because they're all about quality and customer. So, you know, those are the two most important things in my mind when we're serving the community or our customers, is making sure we've got a great product for them and we stand behind it.
Awesome, awesome. Mike, tell us a little bit about what you do for Melco while you're at it.
Sure, yeah, you bet. So I kind of wear a couple different hats. I think most everybody does anymore, but one of the hats that I wear is I work with a lot of our large customers. So I've had the opportunity to travel the world several different times, anywhere from working with Dickies in Bangladesh to working with Nike ID or Nike by You now in Vietnam. So I go into these accounts, I show them how they could be using our equipment to get more efficiency. And then the other side of my my role at Melco is to head up a team called the applications team, or the A team. And so what we do is a lot of stuff. John is a part of that applications team. But we really try to think outside the box. What can we do, not what have we done, and look forward, lean forward. And that's probably the most exciting part. I mean, it's almost like being a Disney Imagineer is like what I put it. So
nice. John, how about yourself? Tell us a bit more about what you do there.
Yeah, so at Melco, I mean, as you know, we manufacture, engineer, and embroidery machines. But there is another market, and I think that's part of the reason we're having this conversation. And what in that other market is, a lot of these embroidery machine operators need other equipment to fulfill other product needs. So my job is to provide that other equipment for Melco. We work in a lot of large format printers, and we do, working with the applications team, we really show how all of this equipment can create unique new product and really fulfill the customer's needs for versatility and in a variety of different products. So my responsibility is the other stuff.
Oh, cool. Awesome. You know, one of the things that I'm looking forward to us talking about is, you know, how these technologies interrelate. And, but, you know, before we get started with that, one of you, whoever you'd like, tell us a little bit about the kinds of machines that you have, and let me sort of preface that, if I would, by saying, what is sort of a low end or starter machine that you guys have, and then sort of how it progresses from there.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. So first of all, getting a little bit back to Melco, on the embroidery machine side, we only carry one machine. So the machine that's behind me is a pure modular machine. So we only carry a single head. They can be connected using just the normal Ethernet cable that you would connect your computer to, either to the company's network or to the internet. And so basically that machine is manufactured by Melco. All the software on the embroidery side is manufactured by Melco. So all of our engineers and technicians that are, based here in Colorado, and then we've got third party all around the country. But on the embroidery side, it is a single machine system. We have it under a couple different brands. One of them is a Bravo, meant for the high-end consumer, low-end prosumer type of group. And then we've got another one that's branded for the company that owns us, a Bernina E16. But yeah, the machine that I'm talking about is a very user-friendly type of machine. From there, then I would hand it over to John, and he can talk about our relationships on the digital side.
So our digital our partners vary. So we really, again, the reason we have digital offerings is to fulfill the need of our customers. And so we've done a lot of research and worked with a lot of vendors to try to find what that best product is. My background is in screen printing and graphic design, and an early adopter of direct-to-garment. So part of the reason I came to Melco to begin with was because of direct-to-garment. They needed someone to head up the Epson DTG program, and so we were an early adopter of that. So we sell Epson DTG, we sell Epson dye sub, we sell Roland print cut. So we're printing print cut on solvent, which is with solvent ink, which is a very popular application and very versatile. But we sell heat presses and everything needed for dye sublimation, everything that would go along with direct-to-garment or solvent printing as well. So really those three main categories: direct-to-garment, solvent, and dye sub.
Oh, cool, awesome. Are you familiar with the work that's being done in sublimating onto cotton?
Yeah, we had talked about that a little bit, and I'm eager to hear more because I know a lot of our customers have asked that question. And from our application standpoint, it makes a lot of sense. So something we're very eager about.
Yeah.
We unfortunately, I'm only able to broadcast to one group at a time, and so I'm recording this broadcast, and then I will post it to our sublimation onto cotton group. It's about the same size as this group as well, so they'll be interesting to hear what you guys have to say in that regard. And actually, there's a lot happening in that field right now. So we being AW Papers carries the Nina and Forever brand media, and both companies have solutions in the sublimation market, both in terms of polyester sublimation as well as into the sublimating onto cotton, which is, I think, going to be really kind of an interesting market. One of the questions that has come up in the group, and of course this is a real relevant situation, is that as it is right now, it seems business is kind of grinding to a halt for many people. And I know that a lot of people are talking about not having much in the way of embroidery jobs And in our segment, that the white toner projects, which are shorter run, easier setup kind of thing, a little bit lower cost, if you will, are sort of taking over where some of the embroidery jobs may have been before. I mean, what are you guys seeing in the marketplace? And what are your thoughts about the embroidery business coming out of where we are today with this COVID stuff?
Yeah, so a lot of the embroidery business, due to the situation that we're in the world, we see a couple different things, and of course we always see that, right? But one of the things that we see is the companies that are creative and smart or forward looking, and getting into the mask industry, making personalized masks that you can get a logo on. This is a great place where we're seeing quite a few folks doing mixed media, like we're about to talk about. So they may take and either do a DTG print or dye sub some material before they actually embroider the mask on the embroidery machine. Then we see a lot of folks working with the frontline people, where printing may not hold up in the way the chemical washes work to sterilize the products. There's actually quite a boost of business in that first responder, hospital, fire department, EMT type stuff. So it's all in kind of how folks look at it. It definitely is not the same as it was 2 months ago. But as long as someone is looking forward instead of reminiscing about the past, there's quite a bit of business out there.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, when you think embroidery, you think schools and things like that, and so that that's business that's kind of gone away for a lot of people. But you both have nice hats on. Tell us about your hats.
Well, this is the local Clear Creek Fire Authority logo, and Mike, you might like this. There's a lot of detail in those pine trees there.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't know these, but
yep.
Yeah, it might be fun to do some of that of ourselves.
Yeah.
Did you make that Denver Broncos hat, Mike?
No, sir. This was a Christmas present. I mean, I can actually show you the. I always leave a sticker on my hats, because people say, "Hey, Mike, you're not supposed to be making that product," and I'm like, "Oh, I didn't make that product." So, but yeah, hats are another great place, Dave, that we can do some really cool mixed media stuff. Once again, and I know I'm kind of stealing the steam a little bit, but John and I have been playing in mixed media, I think, since the day we met. We started brainstorming about stuff, and we've had a couple failures moving through it, but a whole lot of success in it.
Mm-hmm. So back to your machines, and again, I mean, I'm I can run a sewing machine. I have a sewing machine in my house. I'm the only person who sews. Right? So I know sewing machines, but I hear people talk about a single needle machine, or a 12 needle machine, or a 16 needle machine. And I hear people talking about one head or two heads, or what's all that mean?
So if you don't mind, I'm going to actually share my screen for a second here. And so let me jump over and do that. And let me know if you can see my screen.
We do.
Great. And let me get this screen to where I can show you the machine again. There we go. So basically, the Melco machine is a 16 needle machine. It does have a system called ActiFeed. So typically, when you're looking at a normal embroidery machine, you will have these tension knobs all across the front. Well, you'll notice on our machine, we have no tension knobs. We're actually actively feeding with a motor. We're feeding that thread down to the garment. And so it takes all that expert work that, an embroidery's got to learn how to tension the thread correctly. It takes that out of the system, And the other thing that you'll notice is on the keypad, we don't have a screen built into it. It runs off of a Windows-based PC. So it's a Windows program. So anybody that's used a Windows program, it's going to seem very familiar to you. And then the last thing that I would point out is you can start off with a single machine or two machines. And as your business grows, you can just continue to add them and connect them via just a normal Ethernet cable and nothing proprietary to Melco. So it's a very user-friendly system. And let me stop sharing here. It's a very user-friendly system that, once again, Melco has taken the time over this platform came out in 2002, and it's really taken the time to listen to the users, hire the users. I was a Melco customer prior to 2002, and had a couple embroidery machines myself. My wife and I ran a company for good a bit of time before I went to work for Melco, and so there's a lot of customer input into the product to make sure it's user friendly, it's robust, it's consistent, high quality stitches coming out of it. And so, yeah, it's become, I believe, one of the best machines, if not the best machine in the market today.
Okay. One of the questions that, or one of the points that people brought up is things like, difficulty with really fine detail or small lettering or stuff like that. I mean, is there any, I guess that's just kind of a general issue, right?
Yeah. So what I like to do and I think this will relate, but for the screen printers on this stream, if you think about the screen size, so, a real open screen trying to do very fine detail, you're not going to have a lot of success in that. It's not going to come out well. And typically you'll go to a very closed cell or closed screen to get that high detail. What we need to do as embroiderers, and this is where a lot of this gets lost, is our mainstream thread is what we call a 40 weight thread. And just like kind of like a shotgun, the lower the number, the thicker the thread is. The higher the number, the thinner the thread is. So moving to a much thinner thread and a much finer needle will allow us to do more detail. But to be honest with you, David, this is another benefit of mixed media is at some point we need to realize where the just in general in embroidery, where we need to draw the line and say, hey, you know what, this would be best printed and mixed with embroidery to get that look that you need. So it allows you to, let's show one more picture here. Let me jump over here again. And so if we go over to, let me see if I can find this document. Here we go. So if we zoom in on this guy a little bit here, you'll see that, we've got all this small text back in the background. That would be really hard to pull that off in embroidery. So what we did is we actually, John printed this up and we put some what we call registration marks in the design to add the embroidery, where if we would have printed the eagle, you're not going to get that dimension or depth that you can get with embroidery. So combining the two and making sure that we're using them for what they're best for and not trying to make them something that they're not good for, is really where we shoot to try to get that combination together. It just works well. Peanut butter and chocolate is what I say.
You do say that.
Oh. That brings us to a couple of different points with this, and I know you guys maybe don't have a whole ton of experience with the white toner market. I mean, one of kind of the interesting things about this market is our media is transparent, so we can drop this down and be able to exactly position it so that because most transfer paper is paper, so you can't see through it, and so you don't have any way of lining it up or anything like that. But ours is transparent, So we can, we can drop this into position. And so that means then that you could embroider and then apply the, the design on top of it. And then, the other kind of interesting thing as well is that, we also use a kind of a screening, all right? And I just sort of have a feeling that, that could go well with embroidery stitches, so it softens the feel of the design. It brings through, sort of the color in the shirt, and the last point is that, with the adhesive that gets applied to this, and then it gives it a bit of a texture. So you'd have, essentially 3 or 4 levels of depth. I mean, like, you guys have something called a puff style.
Yeah, 3D foam or puff. Yep. And so, David, I hate to sound ignorant, but I don't know your product very well.
And I don't know yours, so we're learning.
Good. So, is there any limitation to man-made fibers with your product versus natural fibers, or will it apply to both?
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the great things that, and I don't have it with me. I mean, a lot of people do leather, all right, and I know a lot of people do embroidery on leather, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and so this stuff goes great on leather. I got a jacket. It's beautiful. It's got these angel wings printed, transferred onto the back of the jacket. It really looks awesome. And so yeah, I mean, we can go on to cotton or blends or polyester, polyurethane. We can go on to nylon or rayon. We can go on to leathers or felt. A lot of people do stuff with this with felt, and I know there's a lot of embroidery with with felt kinds of products. I mean, literally, if you can heat it up to about the point of boiling water, then you can apply it. And that sort of brings me to one of the questions that was asked as well, is that you guys work with these brightly colored threads, and I think a lot of those are polyester threads, right?
Majority of what we use, yes, sir, is a man-made fiber. Yep.
Yeah. So then, and again, pardon my ignorance, okay? All right. But, I know, like with DTG, I know you heat press DTG, and it's typically around 340 degrees. And if you were pressing polyester threads at 340 degrees, they're going to gas out. So you're going to have dye migration, and the color is going to migrate, all around the other threads and literally mess up the design. Whereas in our case, we can press, like I said, all the way down as low as 215 degrees and apply these designs. And we typically see that dye migration stops at around 250, 260, something in that range. Anything below 250, you never have problems with any kind of dye migration, using this. And so that was one of the questions that sort of came up, and I just thought, do you guys have any comments or thoughts about that? Is that an issue, by the way? Go ahead, John. Sorry.
Well, one thing I'd like to note about that is, dye migration is definitely an issue in the digital world. We're all very aware of that, especially on polyester products in general. That being said, Mike and I have experimented with, and frankly, we've mastered this technique of embroidering white polyester thread on any material that we're embroidering on. Then we can apply with very in a quick hit with a little bit of heat, or with basically with dye sublimation, we're able to dye sublimate an image on white thread, and we have a lot of success with that. And it really opens up a lot of opportunity where, again, Mike was talking about some of the fine detail where it might take a little bit of time or it may not even be achievable on embroidery. We're able to really just digitally apply that and still give it the embroidered look, but we're just dye sublimating directly on it.
I have that in my notes here.
Did I jump the gun?
About
Did I
that.
even answer the question?
It's like we print with white polyester thread and we dye sublimate it. So yeah, I certainly can see that as being a possibility. And you know, and actually the same person talked about doing a combination type of a job. So they did an embroidery, you know, on a left chest, and then they printed and pressed sleeves and the back. And, you know, that gives the, you know, sort of the, again, you know, I really want to come back to this high value garment approach, because, you know, we're all out there competing, if you will, against the screen print market, selling shirts and garments, you know, for $7, $8, $9, $10. And, you know, it's hard to make money at that when you have the time and effort that's involved in all of these, you know, in all of these processes. And, you know, when you look at what we can do, you know, in this, the embroidery, the specialization of the, you know, the custom prints, the ability to apply hot stamping foils. We can even do things with flock and stuff like that, that, you know, you can really create some design ideas that have a tremendous value to them. So I think, you know, it's important for users to understand that. I know you guys are seeing that as well. What's that jacket over you, Mike?
Yeah, so the jacket behind me is a project that John and I did last year. And so what we did is it's got a lot of applique. So it's all embroidery with tackle twill material inside the fire and rescue and then the Maltese cross. But what was unique about it was all white twill, all white polyester twill that John was able to dye sub an image, basically kind of like a shadow of what is that material called? Diamond metal, I think it is.
Yeah, it's called machining. So you'll machine like steel or aluminum, and it leaves kind of like little circle swivels in it. And it's kind of a common image in the fire service.
So once again, really cool that we're able to take just white twill and colorize it to what we want. Because one of the big things is a lot of shops that do applique, embroidery applique, you can't carry enough colors.
Would you pick it up and let us see it?
Yeah,
I'd like to see it.
Yeah, now hold on one second, because I'm wearing shorts with my shirt, so don't you
got pants on.
The benefits of working from home.
You know, why are you getting that? I'm going to tell her.
Up top and party in the bottom or something like that.
So here in Chicago, you know, we've got the news channels, and you know, they're fairly good sized news channels.
Yep.
And so they were cutting away, and all the newscasters are working from home. So they were cutting away to one of the newscasters, and he had his suit, his tie, and his shirt and everything all buttoned up, and he had his bare legs sticking up in the air.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So
you can
so let's see what you got.
You can see kind of that shape on that twill.
Hold it up a little higher.
Yep.
Oh yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so this red and gold and black in the middle, once again started out as all white twill, and John dye subbed that for us, and then, you know, we were able to go in and add quite a bit of detail in the embroidery, and it just is so cool. You know, I think we had it at Fort Worth last year. And what was
getting stolen?
FCIA show, but it comes out with a new name, Printing United. I think we did this there, and then also at the Long Beach show. But it was just a real big crowd pleaser, this design. So
I can imagine. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so
Yeah.
there's a lot of people saying on the group that it looks great.
Yeah, and one of the
Yeah, that was a fun project. One of our most proud stuff. Yeah.
One of the big things that we have found is, really experimenting, right? Not being afraid to experiment. A lot of folks, unfortunately, and I don't mean to call people out, but they're just not willing to get outside the box. John and I love to be outside. We never like to go inside the box. I mean, there's money to be made inside the box, don't get me wrong, but it just doesn't seem very creative. So understanding the timbres that we have to work with, that's the important stuff. So understanding, like some of the eco-solvent vinyls that John has found, when the needle goes through it, unfortunately, that material has a tendency, because it has a little bit of rigidity to it, it actually fractures or causes a pretty big hole. Luckily, some of the roll-in products that he's found kind of heals after the needle goes through the material. So once again, understanding those properties of the timbres that you're working with, and should I put it down first and then embroider over the top of it? Should I embroider and then put that over the top of it, or should I do all of the above? It's really not limiting yourself in creativeness.
Interesting. Because, all right, so in the case of what we do, then, you probably wouldn't have any issue of embroidering through the design. And even if you did, you could simply put the design back into the heat press again, at around 220, 230, 240 degrees, and repress it, and it would reheal itself.
Yeah.
Because we tell people that they actually, when you get one of these shirts, we recommend that every 5 or 6 washes you should iron it, because it will reheal itself if anything does break up. So there's a guy in the UK who Amaya is his supplier. I guess they are one of your dealers over there.
That's our distributor in the UK. Yes, sir.
Okay. So they're big white toner distributors.
Okay.
Yeah. So they sell the Oki machines and the fusion heat presses and forever media, that kind of stuff. And so he was talking about this ability to purchase more heads for his machine. What is that?
Yeah, so once again, you can start off like the machine that's behind me right now. As your business grows and you need to be able to produce more, you can add it just like a printer. Imagine that you've got a printer and you need to push more prints out. You could take and just attach another printer. Our embroidery concept with Melco is the exact same way. So instead of buying a ganged machine where you've got a 2-head or a 4-head and they're all running the same thing at the same exact time, our machines basically allow you to run either the same thing at the same time or run different things at the same time. So we looked at it and went, okay, what are all the benefits of a multi-head embroidery machine? What are all the benefits of a single head embroidery machine? And we took all the best from both of them. And that's really what our product is created from, is those benefits.
Ah, gotcha. So what happens when a thread breaks?
So when a thread breaks, the machine identifies when that thread breaks, and it stops at that point so that the operator can either fix it, or in our case, about 10 years ago, we actually applied for a patent where, because our machine is ran by software, you see there's 16 needles on that machine. You can put multiples of the same color on it. And if and when it has a thread break, it will move to the next available of that color and continue to sew without the operator doing anything at that time. I see the wheels turning.
So, all right. Do people typically, All right, I think I understand. So you could set up a machine with, say, several needles running black thread or white thread or something like that, and have it do that way. I just sort of assumed that you'd always have it threaded with 16 different colors, but that's not so much the case.
Yeah, typically your designs in the industry, on average, there's about 5 colors in the average embroidery design is where we're at in the industry right now. So you buy these machines that have 16 needles on them. If you're doing a whole bunch of one-offs, that makes sense to have different colors on it. But if you're running a whole bunch, let's say you're running the US flag or the Canadian flag, maybe 3 colors in that design, you want the ability to be able to run that as efficient as possible. And so that's where we came up with this, once again, because software is driving it outside the machine, we didn't have to build a brand new machine. Our customers that bought way back in 2002 benefit from the software feature that we came out with maybe 8 years after that machine was manufactured.
Okay, so we got a lot of people asking questions, and I've got a lot of questions in front of me, and so I'm going to try and work back and forth between these.
Sure.
So, 2 questions that are sort of related. One is that what's the dimensions? What's your embroidery dimensions on your machine, and then inside of those dimensions, can you do more than one print? Can you be embroidering more than one design in a machine? I don't see how that could be possible.
Right. So let me answer the first one. So the actual sew field of the machine, you're looking at right at a 16-inch sew field, a 16-inch square sew field. The size of the machine itself is about 37 inches square. So it'll go through a normal sized door. It runs on 110 power, so you don't need special power. The head, the machine itself weighs in just a shade under 170 pounds. So where I'm at right now is a spare bedroom on the upper level of our house. So a couple guys are able to carry it up, or I shouldn't just say guys, a couple girls could probably carry it up too. So it's very easy to do that. When it comes to what you're sewing, the machine in embroidery in general, the machine only sews with one needle at a time. So you're really working on one part of a design at one given time. Now, if you have multiple heads, you could be sewing different designs on each head. That is possible.
Okay, gotcha. So let's talk about artwork. All right, and a lot of there's a lot of questions about artwork. I know it's a big issue for all of us. In our group, you guys, I think for you guys it's probably a lot more so. I mean, I've got a big write up here, where he's talking about digitizing the files and how you set it out for the different elements and are we digitizing it ourselves, or do we send it out to be digitized? Evidently artwork for you guys is probably even more complex than it is for pretty much anything else out there. I mean, what's with that?
Yeah, so great question. It really comes up to the person. So, if you're someone like John that has a graphic arts degree and is a great artist, very creative, if you've got time and that's where you're going to make your money, you should be doing that in-house. And yes, embroidery, you're dealing with direction of stitch. What stitch type should I use? Because you can take one color of thread, and depending on the stitch type and the direction, the way the light plays off of it, it can look like a totally different color just off of the same color of thread. So a lot of very artistic approach goes into embroidery. On the other side of it, if you make money with the needle going up and down, I would suggest that you find some very creative digitizers or artists out there that do both graphic arts, for printing, digital printing, as well as embroidery. Instead of trying to do everything yourself and not having that needle go up and down and not being able to pay for things, work with somebody that has that. So some of the names that we see in the social media world, you see the JJs, you see the Beater. We work with a company in Arizona by the name of Q Digitizing, and they've got a very good art department that can either take napkin art, turn it into graphic art for printing. They can do mixed media for you if you help them understand what you're looking for. So I think that a lot of today, you really have to understand where you're going to make your money, and stick with that, and request assistance from somebody that can do the other part for you, that doesn't cost too much, and you can stay focused on what's going to make you money.
Gotcha. Mike, I know we've been talking you to death. John, let's get over to you.
I'm fascinated.
I know you guys do these large format printers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, nowadays that's got to be huge business because everybody needs we're closed signs and stuff like.
Yeah,
we just happening in that side of the field.
Yeah, we just did a webinar on that at Melco recently as well. With Roland joined us on that, and we talked in depth about how print cut and banner printing, how lucrative that is, how much margin there really is in that, and how much in demand it is now. Not only to let people know that they are still open, but that there's curbside pickup. That there's in Colorado, you're able to pick up some tacos and a to-go margarita in the same on the same street outside. On the sidewalk. So we've seen a lot of success, a lot of customers having success with that. But not only that, even after everything starts to reopen, businesses are going to need to let people know that they're reopened, and what specials and what other things that they're offering. So it's not only banners, it's stickers, it's menus. There's all sorts of things you can do with solvent print cut. And our customer base is having a lot of success with that. And it's showing in the amount of people who are still buying these units. It's considerable number of units being sold consistently.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, tell us a little bit about what your typical customer looks like. And I know people ask the question about what's a typical customer. Typical customer is one that's got some money in his hands.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, what are you seeing in terms of, do you guys, do a lot with mom and pop shops, or, are you focused more on the guys that are pumping out millions of prints, or, I mean, is it a little bit of everything? And what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think the best way to answer that is in times like this, when people are maybe have issues at their regular jobs, creative people are thinking, maybe this is an opportunity for me to get into my own business, right? I've been thinking about doing this. I have some creative ideas. I've made some shirts before. So what we find is we work with, frankly, a lot of small businesses. I mean, all our customers are small businesses, and we're not all. I mean, we work with big enterprise accounts as well, like Mike said, Nike and Dickies and a number of others, New Balance and more. But we really provide product, and not only product, but the knowledge and the service to be able to help these customers be successful in their small business adventure. And a lot of them are, and we're really enthusiastic about that. And we really try to motivate and encourage customers to, like Mike said, think outside of the box and do unique things, because we want them to succeed. We know what it takes to commit into to start one of these businesses. Mike and I have been there, and so we use our experience and our successes and spread that. So that's something we take a lot of pride in, right? I mean, we work with a lot of startups, a lot of small businesses, a lot of small established businesses. But they take a lot of pride in what they do too, and we certainly encourage that. One thing I'd like to say is this time, if you're looking for business, use this opportunity, like Mike said, to think outside of the box and start creating things that you haven't necessarily considered before. It doesn't necessarily mean you need to buy more equipment, but if you have some ideas, there's a lot of affordable things out there, but you can start experimenting with and using some of those old products that you have sitting around the shop and trying to convert and do a lot of fun new things with that by mixing media and et cetera. So, and we're seeing a lot of that. I mean, our customers have as Mike can attest, I mean, we're talking with customers every day just as much as we were before. And in some cases, it seems like maybe even more. It's just a lot of people are just taking this time to really be creative and taking advantage of the current situation. And this is a really unique industry for that. So we're capitalizing on it and supporting them.
Gotcha. Well, that brings me to this question. You know, so the group that we're live with right now, the White Toner Success Group, you know, it was created several years ago, and you know, this market, the white toner laser transfer market, is pretty new. You know, it's took a while to really kind of get started going. And, you know, there was some starts and stops in it. And so it's only been, you know, the last few years that market has really started to take off. And there are several companies out there that are selling some of the products, printers, papers, heat presses, that kind of thing. But generally speaking, you know, nobody really had, a full grasp or an understanding of what it takes to make this technology work, not even the dealers for that matter. And so as a result of that, you know, this group came together to sort of help each other learn, you know, help support each other, help, you know, provide answers, some training, you know, here's what you should be doing. Here's why that didn't work. Here's another way of doing that. Get your camera phone out and make a video and show us what you're talking about. You know, these kinds of things. You know, if I bought, you know, $50,000 worth of equipment from you guys, and I call you up and say this shit isn't working, the last thing I want to hear is you telling me, well, get the camera phone out and make a video and send it to me. And, you know, but in the group, we can do that. You know, we can say, you know, if you want a really good answer, get your phone out, make a video, show us what you're talking about. But, you know, I think what I'm sort of getting to is tell me a little bit about, you know, your training, your support. What do you guys do, and how do you make your customers successful across the board? I mean, the whole product line.
Well, I'll answer the digital side, and I'll let Mike answer the embroidery side. When it comes to digital training, I mean, that's a lot of our time. We have the largest trainer network in the U.S. for customers for training and installing the digital printers that we sell. At least in our market, we have the largest network. So we have them scattered all over the place. So when you purchase a printer from Melco, you're getting on-site training. A lot of that is really get you started and start making money and printing shirts or whatever it is you're doing right away. But to elaborate on that, we do weekly videos similar to this. We call them Digital Monday, and then Mike has one for embroidery, and then one for Design Shop. And we're constantly talking about applications, how to increase productivity, how to try different new things, how to solve common problems. And not only that, we create a ton of content. And we have our YouTube channel. I can't even tell you how many videos on there. It's overwhelming, but you can search them by topic and by keyword. So a lot of our focus is really to make sure that if the customer has a question on a certain application or a certain issue with production, that they will be able to find the answer. And the other thing that I'm proud of is that my customers and I, for the most part, we have a relationship where they'll call me directly or text me. I was talking with some customers today about applications. I have the answers, and I'm not too proud to be able to answer the phone or respond to text messages anytime during the week. And I'll get calls late at night. I don't necessarily always answer them, but first thing in the morning, I'm back on it. Or people call on the weekend and say, hey, I have a job to do, and I don't know how to do X, Y, and Z. Can you help? Happy to help.
Yeah, and so to lead off of that, same thing on the embroidery side. Our creation of videos, I think we just passed on YouTube 1,001 videos. Was Digital Monday pushed us over the 1,000 mark. So we have just a wealth of that. We also have a lot like this group that you're talking about, David. We've got several different social media groups independent of Melco that are users helping users, not only on the embroidery side, but now with the digital stuff in the last couple of years. So it's a company that is focused on the customer, from engineering all the way to the warehouse. It is focused on taking care of the customer, and everything that we do is that. It's first the customer, and profitability and success comes from taking care of the customer.
Awesome, awesome. You know, I know we're coming up on an hour, and we planned on 30 minutes. I really appreciate you guys and your time and everything. You know, I do want to get to this one last, interesting point. This guy was talking about how lovely your laser alignment tool is. What is that?
Mike invented that, by the way. That's a Mike invention.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Well, so basically, David, there is an optical laser on the machine, tells you what position the needle is at. And so what we do is we can take some locations, let's call them registration marks in the printing world. We can locate several of those registration marks with the laser. And once we do that, the software takes over and it'll reload the design. It'll rotate the design, it'll position the design, and then it'll resize the embroidery design to match up with the print. So if we have any kind of expansion or shrinkage due to the curing process or the application of the print, we're able to match that with the embroidery via this laser registration tool.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I'm gonna turn this over. If you guys have anything that you'd like to close out with, or any parting thoughts or anything, the only thing I can say is it's just really been super awesome having you, and I really value and appreciate your time, and I can't say how thankful that we as a group are to have you guys participate with this. But anything else you'd like to show or bring?
John?
Yeah, I was going to say, if any of your customers have any questions, we're easily found on Melco or Shop Melco or Facebook. Easily found. We're happy to answer questions and elaborate more. And I want to thank you too, David, for having us on this discussion. It's been great.
Yeah, David, I appreciate your time and this group. I actually joined the group over the weekend, and so I'm learning lots about the group. So I think that I can speak for John and I that be interesting to see how your products work and what we can do with embroidery. And I would love to see ideas and concepts that this group comes up with. I'd love you guys to tag me in that and let me know what you're doing. That would be great.
Cool. All right. Well, we're glad to have you as a member. So thanks a lot for joining. And so guys, I'm gonna bring it to an end. Like I said, an hour. I really do appreciate it. I know this is a crazy time, but it's a lot of fun doing these kinds of things. And thanks so much for it. All right.
Thank you.
All right, bye everybody.